inexplicable insanity, and unwavering unpredictability, a staggering influence among the lives of mortals, unlimited power,
and the cheese to die for. Busy doing fish stick. It's a very delicate state of mind.
Sheogorath, the Daedric Prince of Madness, is a charmingly deranged fellow with a knack for the odd and unbelievable. He chooses to appear as a high-class elderly gentleman with a cane and a brightly colored clothing, while most Daedra take on rather terrifying forms. He does this in order to trick mortals into walking down the golden road of insanity.
I won't go back. You can't make me go back. I'll kill you all! You're all going to die!
He's known and worshipped by many, earning nicknames appropriate for his personality. For instance, the Khajiit actually dubbed him the Madgod Skooma Cat, in reference to how crazy he is.
I'm so happy I could just tear out your intestines and strangle you with them.
Whether it be meddling in the lives of the living, or simply fighting with another god, Sheogorath can be found at some of the peak times in history, using the entrails of his enemies as a skipping rope. While he seems to be a totally separate Daedra with little to no connections to his fellow Daedric gods, in reality, he's said to have been formed into a Daedra, rather than being born a divinity. He shares this characteristic with Malakath and Meridia, both of which he speaks about periodically. This gives us the impression that he holds more knowledge about the other Daedra that he wishes to tell. Meridia herself actually holds a rather precious secret, but that topic is for another video. Instead, we'll just focus on Sheogorath. Like most Daedra, Sheogorath has a realm in Oblivion to call his own. His is known as the Shivering Isles. Now, the Shivering Isles on the surface is uncharacteristically normal, even beautiful, with not many hints of the unbalanced mind of its creator. We're left to pose many questions. What sort of oddities reside there? How does the Madgod spend his time when he's not causing havoc in some remote corner of existence? Well, the answer is that the Shivering Islands are actually filled with psychopaths and sociopaths and all of the kinds of paths, which seems nice enough at first when you first stroll down on it, but it's probably just leading you blindly into a cleverly shrouded but inescapable tomb. But what secrets are left to be discovered here? You see, contrary to his silly personality, there is actually a rather serious story that goes along with the Madgod and his realm, and it can begin through a book of poems found in the Isles. It reads, "Just you wait and see, good gods come and go, but all lords eventually fall. A god can wake up mortal." While the poem itself is fascinating in a creepy, apocalyptic sort of way, it doesn't seem all too important until you look at the letters that the author has purposely capitalized. When arranged in order, they spell Jyggalag. As much as Sheogorath seemed to detest this Daedric Prince of Order, there is a connection between the two, and he will never be able to deny it. You see, for many years, Jyggalag was an incredibly strong Daedric prince, and it was believed that he could overthrow all the other Daedra if he wished to. And for a good reason. The others came together to devise a plan. They would set a curse on Jyggalag so he would become what he hated the most: chaos and insanity.
A good day to you, sir. I said good day!
So the madman we all know and love to hear ramble was once an all-power-hungry prince that favored order and logic. Jyggalag became Sheogorath. To get a sense of just how much he dominated over the other Daedra, one must know that Jyggalag was actually dedicated to studying the affairs of both mortal and gods. He made note of and studied every specific minuscule detail of Nirn and could actually predict events before they even happened. His knowledge was overwhelmingly alarming to the other Daedra, as he could see exactly what any of the given princes were planning at any point in time. Even what he stood for, logic and order, threatened the rest of the Daedra's way of life and interfered with their schemes. It is unknown, however, whether Sheogorath also has the same capabilities as Jyggalag.
I don't want to know. Why ruin the surprise?
At the end of each era, Sheogorath was to turn back into Jyggalag for a day to restore order to his realm, only for Sheogorath to ruin it when the sun rose the next morning. This process was dubbed the Grey March, a maddening curse indeed for such a mighty prince, and as to be expected, Sheogorath could only take so many years of the constant struggle with himself. Approaching the fourth era, Sheogorath was at his wit's end. He could no longer endure the slow process of his transformation back into Jyggalag every single era, and wished to be free of this curse. To accomplish this feat, he enlisted the help of a known hero at the end of the third era, before the Grey March. This hero was famous for closing shut the jaws of Oblivion and gained the title of the Champion of Cyrodiil. The champion does eventually defeat Jyggalag during the Grey March of the Third Era and thus broke the curse. Jyggalag was free from its binding to reside as his true self, and instead, the champion took on the form of Sheogorath, the Madgod. If you're following this, the hero is actually the player of Elder Scrolls Oblivion after they finish the main questline in the game. This means that the player actually becomes Sheogorath, and the Sheogorath that we see in Skyrim is actually the player that you used in the last game. Now that is truly insane. Not only is he a force strong enough to dramatically alter every soul in Tamriel, but there's no possible way to actually kill him. Still, as intimidating as he appears to be, it's hard to take him seriously when he says things like this.
Calm yourself, Théoden. You're making my teeth itch.
He truly is unlike any other Daedra we have had the pleasure of coming across, and with his unlimited imagination and power, there's no telling what we'll see from the Madgod in the future. You see, I think that the beauty of Sheogorath in general is just how much he is not like the other Daedric princes, because being a Daedra, and by that I mean not being an Aedra, being the opposite of an Aedra, being a Daedra, it just means that you're an agent of change. That's the whole purpose of being a Daedra, that you enjoy change, you enjoy the concept of creating things and then breaking them. That's what being a Daedra it's all about. That's what it's always been about. But Jyggalag, it's the Daedric Prince of Order. It makes no sense. Like, there is no such thing as having a sense of order in a Daedra. So in itself, it feels like Jyggalag could have been just very well be just some form of insider working for Anu. I mean, and it's funny because it's not a crazy thing. I mean, it's completely, I will admit it's very silly, but there is actually a book that you can read that is found on the Dark Brotherhood that talks about Lorcan being an actual agent of Padome infiltrating into the Edada, which are the normal spirits like Akatosh and all the divines and whatever. He actually was an agent of change sent by Sithis into the Edada to create this world to kind of destroy and eliminate the divinity that these spirits have. Like, it's not a crazy thing, something that has actually happened. Well, whether it happened or not, it's obviously debated. We don't really have that much information about the gods yet, but I think it's very interesting to note that Jyggalag is literally the opposite of what a Daedra should be, and just the fact that he has so much power, the ability to see the future and know everything that has ever happened and whatever could be happening at any point in time, I think it's just straight up just outrageous. And that was probably the reason why the other Daedra just came in and took him over. I don't know how they did it. I mean, having such power like Jyggalag has, I don't know how he couldn't have seen that coming, but apparently they did. But yeah, that's just something weird and stupid that I want you guys to think about for a second. I mean, you know, whatever makes you guys think. And also I just wanted to mention the fact that it is pretty cool that you can actually see Aetherius, or what I think is Aetherius from the Shivering Islands, because this is not something that you see all the time. In fact, I think this might actually be the only other place where you can see Aetherius other than Sovngarde, which again is pretty interesting because Aetherius, it's not where the Daedra live. The Daedra live in the void, but Aetherius is supposed to be the everything, right? So the void is the essence of not being anything. Where there is nothing, that's the void, right? But everything else that exists, like space or whatever, that's Aetherius, and that is supposed to be this funny looking, like pinkish or purplish or whatever cloud of essence that you can see there in the sky. Now you can only see it outside of Sovngarde. You can see it on Shivering Islands. Now if that's actually true, then what if the Shivering Islands are actually located closer to Aetherius, if not even inside Aetherius? That could very well just confirm the fact that Jyggalag and Sheogorath might actually be an agent of stasis from the good guys. Who knows? Definitely something to think about, huh?